Hello and welcome. Over the past few weeks on The Creative Connection, we have talked about what it means to reclaim your voice, to have courage, to take action, and to begin building a life that truly lights you up. But every once in a while, I get asked, and I even consider the question, but what's happened when you finally take that first step to keep you going to prevent burnout? Today, I'm joined by someone who knows that journey from the inside out, Janet C. Bernstein, keynote speaker, 10-time author, and chief glow strategist at Let Her Glow. After 2 decades in the corporate leadership and training world, Janet walked away to rebuild her confidence and created a movement that helps women do the same. Through her powerful GLOW code, staying grounded, liberated, on fire, and whole, she teaches high-achieving women how to prevent burnout and reignite their brilliance from the inside out. As someone who has also walked the road of reinvention, both on and off stage, I'm excited to talk about this and to learn about how we can glow from the inside, lead with presence, and still stay grounded in what matters most. So whether you are someone that is trying to figure out how to live, how to lead, or create with more clarity and confidence in your heart, and how to reclaim your glow, that might just be the thing that you need that can help you take that courageous step forward. So let's talk about how to rise, reset, and remember what lights you up and that it's never lost. It's just waiting for you to shine again. So Janet, I have read and I have seen you say that you don't just teach reinvention, you live it. What was a turning point for you that made you walk away from burnout and from that life that you thought you were going to have and create a different path?
There were so many moments over the last couple of years that I would say were sort of wake up calls. One really key moment I remember was getting on an airplane and realizing that when I went to buckle my seatbelt, it wouldn't close. And I was mortified, and I had to raise my hand and call over a flight attendant and ask for a seatbelt extender. And it was the first time in my life that I'd ever had to do that. And
Mhm.
I had a very real conversation with myself throughout that 3-hour flight. That was basically hey, it's time to wake up and take care of yourself. And a lot of the challenges I was facing with being unhappy in my corporate role and not venturing out and doing this thing that was on my heart, it had manifested itself in what I call now armor. But that was the extra weight. And so that was really kind of the beginning of the wake up calls that started to happen. And I did eventually shed 100 pounds. I did recently fly and every
Okay.
time I go to buckle that seatbelt, I actually have a little flashback because I'm like, please, please. And then I hit click and I'm like, okay, we're good.
Well, that's fabulous. So that took courage, took a lot of courage to have that conversation with yourself, didn't it? And I'm wondering, as you began that journey forward for yourself, how did you come up with the GLOW code? How did you come up with that first step to move yourself forward? And then I'm sure the world saw you changing and went, I want what she has. How can I get what she has? So there's a lot wrapped up in that. So feel free to just share what comes to your heart.
Yeah. So it's funny. They say that other people will start to notice the shifts in you sometimes before you see them. And I remember after I had lost a little bit of the weight, I think it was around 30 or 40 pounds, I really felt like I wasn't seeing any results at all. And then I went to like put on one of my favorite blazers because it was training day at the office, and which meant we had to dress up a little bit. And I put on this blazer and I went to work, and everybody that saw me that day was like, Janet, that it's too big for you, girl. It looks like you are losing that weight or whatever. And I was like, what? I didn't really feel like I saw it. And when I went home, that evening, I kinda looked in my closet, and there was a lot of pieces in there that as I started to put them on, they were significantly too big. And so I began this process of sort of decluttering the things that didn't fit me anymore. What's funny is I
Mm.
ended up decluttering an entire job that didn't fit. So that's really the very beginning of the glow code. That's what G for grounded really stands for. It's kind of decluttering and stripping away the things that don't fit anymore. And so I still do
Mm.
this kind of on a daily basis, even looking at my calendar and choosing the types of events. The glow code, it exists now because when I was in the thick of and uncertainty, I needed some sort of tangible ways to say, okay, I'm a little lost in what I'm doing right now. What's something that's going to bring me back to earth? And it was simple things like decluttering my closet, saying no to certain things that just didn't light me up anymore. It was finding joy again. So it was kind of a bunch of different little steps. And that's kind of what sparked the whole desire to write the glow code part of the letter
Um,
glow.
you know, Uh, one of the people that I have worked with comes to mind as I sit and I listen to you. And one of the things that when she came to me, she had no idea how to find what lights her up. So I know that someone listening is going to go, "Yeah, but I don't know what lights me up." So in this process of transition for yourself, how did you know what was still working and what wasn't because it wasn't creating that aliveness in you?
Yeah, great question, Cindy. And if you had asked me a year ago, what lights you up, Janet, I literally would have been that same person that would have said, I have no idea. And so in this process, I've learned a couple of lessons in that there's no way to figure out what lights you up if you say no to everything, right? So if there
Mm,
is an opportunity to do something, and if you feel there's a part of you that says that doesn't really sound like something you should do, or that doesn't really sound like anything fun, or that sounds scary, like whatever that it's like this inside voice, and I always laugh. It's basically your ego protecting you because it doesn't want you to go out there and do any of this stuff. And so, whatever you feel like, if it's a little scary or it's going to stretch you, you absolutely have to try it. But also,
mm,
I just had to try things. I'll never forget. I bought this kit on Amazon that was paint rocks. You take a little bit of paint and you do these mandalas in different designs on rocks. And I'm a very creative person. I painted as a child. And I was convinced this is going to be like my new hobby and I was going to absolutely love it. And so the shipment arrived and I opened up the box and I got all the paints and I lined up everything on the table and I started doing these little dots. And about halfway through my very first project, my first rock, I literally looked at my husband and said, I don't think I want to paint rocks. And I just sat it down and I was like, I think we're done with that. So rock painting unfortunately did not light me up, but I had to try it because there's always this little piece of me that's like, maybe that would be something fun. And that's kind of the joy of
yeah.
finding out what sets you on fire again, is you just have to try stuff. Um, Sometimes it's like going out
Mhm.
somewhere and saying, you know what sounds really fun? What if we took a dance class? Or what if we did, had our makeup done at the mall, just us girls, or like just figuring out something just interesting to do. And that's usually when you start to discover what lights you up. But anybody that comes to me, if they're struggling with what lights them up and they can't figure out where to start, I ask a few questions like, when was the last time you laughed so hard you couldn't breathe?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's some sort of an indicator that you are having a great time, but usually it's something that lights you up. But then also my deeper question is what breaks your heart? So if you look out in the world,
Mm.
you look at your friends, your family, anybody, your clients, what breaks your heart? What if you could take a magic wand and fix something, what would that be? And a lot of times that's what's going to set you on fire because it's usually your calling. And if your work is not tied to your calling, you got to either do your work and still live your calling, or you need to bring them together.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think about the people that I have met over the course of, I'm just going to say the last 5 years. And maybe you can relate to this where you started to have a conversation with someone and they're telling you about what they're really passionate about, but you don't see that in their eyes.
Yep.
It's like it stops. So they believe that they are passionate about it, but they're not really feeling it in their body. Your word for grounded, they're not grounded in that thing that they believe that they're passionate about. So let's talk about the letter L, the liberated, because I think there's a bridge there between the grounded and then that L and what lights you up and experimenting and trying.
Yeah. So, and I love the way you phrase it, Cindy. L is absolutely the bridge. So the grounding is kind of stripping away what's not fitting. On fire is figuring out what we really want to do. But somewhere in the middle there, yeah, we've got this liberation that happens. Liberation is my favorite chapter in my book, and it's my favorite part of the Glow Code. But it is about stripping off the labels and the things that just don't fit us at all, right? So decluttering is kind
Mm,
of removing a lot of the stuff that is distracting us from seeing stuff. But liberation is literally like taking them off of us, saying, you know what, I can be spiritual and I can still be, woo woo. I can be this and I can be that, right? It's just saying it's okay to be yes and. But my favorite part of liberated, especially when I work with clients in the coaching space, is the moment where they're like, you know what? I think I would love to cut my hair off. Or I think I would love to dye my hair purple because I've always wanted to do it. I think it would go great with my brand. And I'm like, well, sounds like a liberation, right? And so it is that moment of just stepping into something that feels authentically you. And really, this is the
mm,
key thing. It's not, oh, so and so has purple hair. I want to be just like her. It's no, I want purple hair because, and you've got to have that reason attached to it because if it doesn't feel authentic and it's not you, then it's not going to have that same magic that it has. And so I talk a little bit about having blonde highlights for a long time. It was just part of my corporate look. Everybody knew me with this certain look. And then a bunch of months ago, I just freaked everybody out in a weekend, and I went with wild red hair. And honestly, at the time, it kind of just felt like a rebellious move. And then everybody loved it, and everybody said, "Oh my gosh, it's so you!" And so now it's like become my thing, right? But I'm
yeah.
seeing even the same thing in clothing choices, right? That the things that I wore for a long time that I was comfortable in, once I put them on when I had this new identity, they didn't fit anymore. They just didn't fit. And it wasn't the size, it was just the style and the colors and it just didn't represent who I wanted to be anymore. And then,
Yeah.
the other day I went to an event and I put on these big wild pants that were all these fun colors of like big newspapers with splashes of color. Everywhere I went, women stopped me and they were like, I need to get those pants, right? Everybody loved them. And I was so at home and my confidence was through the roof just because I loved what I was wearing too.
Yeah. Yeah. In the work that I do, there's um, I call that magnetism. You are that person that everybody is like, and I think every person that understands who they are at their core, their essence, is that magnetic being. They are pulling to themselves everything that the world wants them to have and the divine universe wants us to have. But we have to be willing to, first of all, ground ourselves, be willing to shed this stuff that doesn't fit, that we're pulling on the sleeves and it itches or it doesn't feel right, and to get rid of it. And so let's talk about on fire. What is on fire? Tell me about on fire.
Yeah, on fire is really this is the part where you've kind of removed everything that's weighing you down. You've stripped off the labels and you started to say, you know what? I really am this. I'm not too much. I'm just enough and I'm going to own it. Right. And then now when you shift to on fire, now it's not just I'm happy with showing up every day. It is, you know what? I need to show up big. I need to show up bold. And I want everybody to kind of see whatever that version of me is that needs to be out there. And so on fire is
Wow.
really finding what lights you up again. I actually, I have quite a few little stories in the book about this, but one of my favorite ones is bringing home a puppy. And watching this puppy play outside, with a ball or with a toy, and me just lighting up and laughing throughout that whole process, right? And he's asleep at my feet right now. His name is Biggie Smalls. But he is, I think, about 15 months old now. But when we brought him home, he was 8 weeks old, and I honestly, like, it lit me up so much. And so it's little things like that, is just tapping into the everyday moments of what's going to make you happy
Mm,
again, right? Now,
yeah.
not for everybody watching, you can't probably get a puppy. I obviously had two senior dogs for a long time and used to look at puppy pictures all the time and say, nope, can't do it. Nope, can't do it. So the timing was right for this one. But it might be something else, like, going to, see your favorite movie that they're bringing back for a 30th anniversary. Doing something that's just fun, that's going to light you up, that doesn't necessarily have to have a return on investment, right? It just is something that brings a smile to your face. And that's really on fire. It's just the joy that comes back to you. And when you talk about that magnetism, this is when everybody starts to pay attention, because then
Right.
they're like, whoa, what is she doing? Right? Because they're noticing
Mhm.
how excited you are. Because it's kind of like, if you think about let's say you go to the airport and you're waiting in line and you're in the pre check and you're doing all these things and everybody is just hustle and bustle and there's a lot of angry people out there. And then you get up to the Starbucks counter and you wait in line there for 15 minutes. And then the barista who is helping you has the biggest, greatest energy ever. She loves her job. She loves coffee. She talks you into a croissant, just because she's having the best day of her life. And you can't help but have a great day too, right? That
Right.
is the magnetism that comes with On Fire, right? And this is where
Yeah.
we affect everyone around us.
Yes. 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 I love that. I think about a decision I recently made. So I have been on the board and a member of this local nonprofit theater group, and they need people to go out and um, evaluate shows and rank them. It's like our own local, Golden Globes or whatever you want to call it. And I went, I could be a nominator. So I just signed up to be a nominator, was selected to be a nominator. Now I get to go to plays every couple of weeks. And I love theater. I mean, you and I have had this conversation. I love theater. I direct theater. I act in theater. So I get to go out and see theater all the time. And my husband said, "You've been a part of this organization for 28 years. Why have you never done this before?" Because I didn't know that that's what I really wanted to do. I was listening to all the other things that were going on in the world. And I think about this whole process that we've been talking about. And one of my favorite Shakespeare quotes is from Jacques in um, As You Like It. And it's all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, each knowing their own entrance and exit. But it is my belief that we don't always know what our own entrances and exits are. And a part of our journey as humans is what you're explaining with your glow code. It's to become grounded and to liberate ourselves from what other people tell us we're supposed to be doing, and to go and try a new door or exit something that's not working for us.
Mm,
So, absolutely.
yeah.
So, how do we put this all together and become whole again? How do you get to that W?
Yeah, wholeness is really kind of the fun part. So wholeness is really where well, first of all, once you get to wholeness, doesn't mean you're done. It just means that you know that you've got to keep going back and doing this all the time. So just a quick thing. It's not like a full circle and then you're done. You are kind of always going through this process. But whole is
Yes.
putting all the pieces together that make you you. And so it is realizing, hey, I really do love the theater so much, right? And that a part of what's going to bring me joy is making sure I can see at least one show every 2 months. And so now wholeness means when you are planning your calendar and you are spending money and you're doing all the things, that means that that theater cost is on the list, right? It doesn't get cut because it's part of that wholeness. It's going to bring you that joy, right? So it's now aligning everything that you stand for and that you say you stand for along with everything you're actually going to
Mhm.
do and making sure that they're in alignment. Because when we are not in alignment, that's when burnout happens. Right? It's because we're saying, yes, I'm fine when you're not. And so there's a mismatch, and the same is true if we say, "Oh, I love the theater. I'm a big fan." When's the last time you saw a show? Well, it's been 10 years. Right? Then you don't really love the theater, or you are so out of alignment that you just haven't figured out how to make it work. Right? And that's
Right.
really you know, don't say you don't have time, don't say you don't have money, just say it's not a priority. And if that doesn't feel good, change it, right? And so wholeness
Right.
is, hey, this is who I am, but I'm bringing it all together. You something you and I have a lot in common is we're very multi passionate, right? We're both speakers, we're both coaches. Storytelling is a huge part. I was seeing that on some of your stuff as well. I'm preparing a talk tonight for a group, and it is all going to be around a story. And then I love that we
Mm.
have this theater, in common. And so all these are pieces of who we are. And I think that sometimes social media and society convince us that we have to stand for one thing. Our content has to be one thing. We have to
Mm.
talk to one audience. And like that just doesn't work for me. I mean, I'm going to show up one day and say, "Hey, I'm singing the national anthem at this event, support me." And then the next day it's going to be speaking to a corporate team, and those are all just pieces of who I am. And so that's wholeness. It's owning it, all of it, even the messy parts, and then just sharing it with whatever feels good. Not everybody wants to share their entire life, in a book or on social media, but it's whatever feels good to you. Because when you're holding back, that's usually when you start to feel that resentment or that regret start to creep in. So you need to make sure you're sharing
Mhm.
enough so that
Yeah.
you feel like you're sharing your purpose.
Yeah. And if you don't get to that W at least the first times, again, I believe we're an evolving person. So it's going to be a cyclical thing. Every once in a while, we're going to have to shed something new that we thought was a part of us and isn't a part of us. And then we'll continue to go on. But I think about when the idea behind starting this podcast of conversations was to help people learn that they have within them the ability to reclaim their voice, reignite their vision, and realign with what matters most. And I think your glow code fits perfectly with all of that. And then as I think about, the multifacetedness of each of us, and when we allow the multifacetedness to come to the surface, that's why I came up with the title, Creative Connection. I believe we're all at the base of ourselves in some way creative, whether it's in thought or whether it's in production or whether it's in, you name it. You had a creative element to that. And connecting to ourselves. But I believe that the world needs to have a little bit more connection with one another, a belongingness.
Hmm.
And I think it starts with us. We have to know that we belong to us. And I really resonate with the glow code with that as a starting point. Because if you know that you are you, you're better able to connect and belong and feel that in relationship, in community, in the work that we do, in the world that we live in. Even if the world is going very chaotic, we know where our place is and we know what our voice is.
Yeah.
So as
Yeah.
you hear that and you think about the work that you do, how does the glow code and other things that you might be up to fit into that? I'm thinking about women specifically, high achieving women. I work with them as well. And how can we help them reclaim who they are and not feel invisible in the world. And the glow code is a starting point. But what are some of the things that might be next? What would
Yeah, so
happen
I
after?
think women leaders everywhere, high achieving women, women leaders, whatever your title is. I mean, let's just face it, women are running the world. They're running teams. Women are carrying everything. And something that I hear all the time, though, from pretty much every woman I've talked to, and this is from multiple generations, is that it's too much, and
Mm,
they're carrying it all, and it's that mental load, and it's causing exhaustion, it's causing burnout, it's causing them to dim their light. We are seeing crazy numbers of women who are being late diagnosed with ADHD, who are having anxiety issues, right? We're seeing all of this just continue to compound. And so,
yeah.
you know, there are so many of us out there, like you and I, who are passionate about trying to help women reconnect so that they don't lose themselves in the process. And so I think this next phase for every woman watching or listening to this, is ask yourself, who are the thought leaders you need to be around? Who do you need at your table? Because we've already tried this by ourselves. It didn't work, right? We have to surround ourselves with other powerful voices who are going to remind us of our magic when we lose it. And that's really what we're
Mm,
seeing right now, the disconnect and the chaos. It's because we've all been running around on our own and we've lost touch. My personal word for this quarter, and I set a word every quarter, not just a word a year, but every quarter. My word is community. And it's because when I launched my business many years ago as an entrepreneur, I woke up one day and realized how alone I was, and that nobody really understood what I was going through. And shame on me because I didn't raise my hand and say, hey, I need friends, I need help, I need board directors, I need whatever it is. And so this time around, I'm surrounding myself with women from all walks of life, from all different areas. And I'm just asking them, hey, just show up, share what you're working on, share what you need, just talk, and just trying to make sure that I'm there as well, and that I'm not just there to take, but that I'm there to give as well. But I think this next phase of the world is just going to get busier, it's going to get noisier, it's going to get even more chaotic, right? But we can also bring this in and set the intention to, what, I know what's going to set me on fire, I know who I want to surround myself with, and that's how we change the game, so to speak.
yeah. Yeah. So a couple more questions before we finish up. The first one is, if you had one courageous action or something that a listener could do today to help them start moving forward, either in connecting in community or with that glow code, what is something that they could do?
So I love this question, but I'm going to give you a couple of different answers. So
Perfect.
it's gonna depend on your personality and what you need right now. So anybody listening or watching this, I want you to close your eyes and just pause and ask yourself, what do I need most right now? And then listen for
Mm,
the answer, because usually it's going to come in the form of connection or clarity or some other word that's going to be kind of clear for you on what you need to do next. But I would say if you are overscheduled, the best advice I can do is tell you to go to your calendar right now and start cutting things out, right? Say no to things. I don't care if you have to make it up. Hey, I'm so sorry. Something has come up and I'm not going to be able to make our meeting on Friday. I would love to circle back, right? Go in and do that. I do this pretty regularly on anything that just feels like it's out of alignment, or if I just have too much going on. And most people don't even think twice about it. I had someone who was, 4 minutes till their call today, canceled last minute. And so people do this all the time. It is not the end of the world, but sometimes you have to kind of protect your peace. But if you are that lonely island, and you are the one woman show who's doing everything day in, day out, and you never leave the abyss of your home office, then I want you to reach out to somebody you like, somebody you trust, and just invite them out for coffee or a Zoom coffee, something. Just get out of the norm. Go do something different. Go to a different coffee shop. Go do something that's out of your normal thing because your body is craving excitement. And a lot of times we
Mm.
just don't know where to find it. And so we just got to get out of our comfort zone to do it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I have been known to coffee shop hop, and when there's one that I really like the name of it or something, I'll buy the mug to remind me. And one of the local ones here is called
Ooh,
Visible Coffee Roasters, and so I bought one of their mugs
love it.
because it says visible and it's on the side where everyone else can see. So quite often I'll be on with a client with my visible mug.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I will say, as I'm the chief glow strategist, but I specialize in visibility. And I will tell you also, if you are watching or listening to this and you are a business owner and you struggle with showing up online, get out of your comfort zone, go to another coffee
Yep,
shop, take a picture with the visible mug, right? Use those things in your
yep,
content because it's also showing people who might be considering working with you what you're like. What's your
yes.
personality like? Those things all matter.
Fantastic. So, are there any parting reflections or anything that you'd like to share with those that are listening, maybe about something you have coming up? Or I know that you had sent me something to include with the show notes for everyone. What would you like to share, Janet?
Yeah. So, since you are a master storyteller, and I have been working on increasing some of my storytelling skills, I did create a storytelling prompts freebie for everybody that is listening to this or watching this. So, if you struggle with what to post on social media, these are some prompts on how you can use your own stories to attract clients. But it also goes a little deeper because I'm that person that wants to know the why. And I want to ask more questions. So there's a why does this matter? And then there's also a pro tip. And then there's even some examples on some of them. But storytelling, I will say, when done right, will bring you the right clients. So yeah, definitely
Yes.
check out that freebie and feel free to tag me in your stories, especially on LinkedIn. I would love to follow along.
Yep, and I love that. I took a peek at it, and I love the why. I'm a why person too. I wanna know why. That I feel like a five-year-old sometimes because 'cause I'll go, "Why? Why? 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 Why?" I mean, that's your typical, but that's also that age right before we start to lose our inquisitive nature, so that why is really important, and to not shut the why
Yeah.
down. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, Janet, for being here. I have looked at your books. I have checked out your content. I know you've checked out mine. And I have enjoyed getting to know you better over the last several weeks. And I look forward to continuing that relationship. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you.
with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure. Love your work. Love what you do for.
Thank you so much, Janet. And I invite you, listeners, and those that are watching, to connect with her at letherglow.com. You know, this was a very illuminating conversation. I really, really, really enjoyed it. A powerful reminder that our glow doesn't come from doing something more. In fact, it may come from not doing all the things that we're doing. It comes from being who we are, being more of who we truly are. I love how Janet's glow code, staying grounded, finding ourselves where we are, shedding things and liberating ourselves, and then finding what lights us up, trying new things to discover that, and then seeking wholeness where we are aligned with who we truly are. And that this isn't a one-time thing, it's an ongoing thing. I love how this glow code invites us to live and lead without burnout, overwhelm, feeling fatigued and tired all the time. The glow code shows us that if we bring our voice and vision back into alignment, with who we truly are and our hearts, we will become more of ourselves. One of the other things that Janet and I talked about was connection, connecting to ourselves, connecting to community, connecting to what we need, more or less. That women in particular, we have a tendency to go and go and go and do that going on our own without ever asking for help. So if today's episode sparked something in you about needing to belong, I'm inviting you to join me for the Rooted in You circle. This is my winter circle. It begins January 3rd. We will meet on Saturday mornings for about an hour to pause, connect, and realign with what matters most. On top of that, I will allow you the opportunity to spend some time with me one-on-one to figure out what your vision is. What is the next thing for you? What are you needing to liberate from and step into? That's what the Rooted in You circle is about. It is a small, intimate circle of 12 women. And I had an early bird registration that was running through November 15th. And then I had a friend say, I'd really love to do that. And I know that sometimes you do a Black Friday special. And I went, well, how about I do a small business special? So I've decided that now through the end of November, if you would like to join this circle, I have reduced the price down to $97. I only have limited space available. It is normally $497, and my early bird registration was $297. But I thought, I want to do this because I want to help women. I want to help women connect to themselves. I want women to connect to other women. I want women to be able to pause and listen to their inner voice, the real inner voice, not the anxiety inner voice, and realign with what matters most. So if this is calling you, now is the time to register. And I am still offering the 2 bonus one-on-one coaching calls. You'll find how to register and more information in the show notes. Next week, oh my goodness, next week we are going to move from glowing, finding our true essence, ourself, into healing and ascension and up-leveling ourselves. I will sit down with another Janet Dorr, a gifted medical intuit, master energy healer, and ascension guide. Janet helps people uncover and clear the energetic and emotional roots of their health challenges. She knows because she has done this for herself. We can transform the way we feel in our body, our mind, and our spirit. We have the ability to heal ourselves. You won't want to miss this conversation about energy, about emotion, and about how reconnecting to spirit can unlock a door that's been closed for a long time and set you free in your own agency and empowerment. Until then, may you stay grounded, keep glowing, and remember that your light is not something you earn. I'm going to say that again. Your light is not something you earn. It's who you already are. Until then, may you stay grounded, keep glowing, and remember your light is not something you earn. It's something you already have, is who you, until next week.